garden in a similar way to how most of us in Zambia lay out our gardens, and how my mum had taught me how to lay out a garden, which is plant grass and lawn right to the very corner of the plot. And so this section of the garden and also this section of the garden was beautiful, manicured, irrigated lawn. But I did notice that when my children were cycling on their bicycle or playing, they didn't actually play in this section or this section of the garden. They went out onto a common area field where they have vast amounts of space to ride their bicycle, run around and play tag. But we still loved our gardens. But then we went through a period in Zambia of load shedding, which is when we have no power from the grid for more than 6 to 8 hours of the day. Some days we had up to 12 hours of the day with no power from the grid. And so we only pump water from the underground water table when we have power from the grid, because the submersible pumps, they consume a large volume of power. They're inductive loads. So we had a situation where we were running out of water because we didn't have enough hours in the day with power from the grid to pump water into our main overhead tank. And so my first thought was stop irrigating the gardens. I then decided that we would keep a small belt around the house as an irrigated lawn garden, which is where we sit down and we have picnics and I play with the children. But I decided that this section of the garden would remain as a wild nature garden. And then I thought about it and I said, if there's one thing that I would like to irrigate, it would be food. And that's what then inspired this section of the garden, which is a completely water-wise garden, a vegetable garden with drip irrigation. So in our vegetable garden, my big dream and goal was to be completely self-sufficient. And so to have some different fruit trees, banana trees, pawpaw trees, as well as vegetables. And so my journey as being a very small-scale farmer has been a huge learning curve, and I have the greatest respect for all farmers because it really is quite hard work being an organic farmer. But on our banana trees, in our household, we eat so many bananas. And so I said, right, if we're going to actually produce the same amount of bananas that we're consuming, I think we need a small plantation, which is what we've planted here on a very small micro scale. But I got these lovely banana plants from my mum, who lives up in the north in Chinsali, and we have two varieties of bananas. We have these really juicy big bananas, which are these, I think it's called a dwarf banana, and then we have the little finger bananas, which are along the other section of our garden here. And literally these bananas are 1 year old, and the ones over there, the finger bananas, are 1.5 years old. And already we just picked this bunch of bananas just last week, and the bananas have been the easiest thing to plant, and we literally are self-sufficient in terms of our banana consumption. And then on the gardening side, we do non-dig gardening. So our vegetable beds are about 1 meter wide. We have little pathways in between, and every time we harvest vegetables, we just put some compost on top of the bed. It's very interesting because this vegetable garden is only about 2 years old, and when we designed the vegetable garden, there wasn't as much shade in this area. The trees were just a lot smaller, but because we're irrigating with a bit of drip irrigation, and just again, incredible how quickly things grow in Zambia, now there's a little bit too much shade in this area, and that's kind of my current dilemma. We cut a few branches here and there, but I'm sort of figuring out what the next stage of this garden will be. But it's just so wonderful to just have this beautiful soil that just smells wonderful, and we've got lots of earthworms inside there, and the herbs do really well, and the spinach, and it's just a beautiful way to be able to grow, cook in our outdoor kitchen and eat.